The rain hisses against the evidence warehouse windows, whispering secrets from 4 decades past. Claire Hensley's breath clouds the cold air as she slices through the tape of a forgotten box. Stamped ash pine case, 84-9. Inside, beneath layers of dust and forgotten signatures, rests a single Polaroid, its edges curled, image faded, but the detail unmistakable. Emily Hart on the lakeshore, smiling towards someone outside the frame. "This shouldn't be here," Claire mutters, her voice trembling not from fear but recognition. She's seen that shoreline before, in dreams, in nightmares, in every case file she's studied. A faint scrawl on the back chills her spine. He was behind her. Somewhere far away, thunder rumbles like a warning too late to matter. The windshield wipers thump like a metronome for dread as Claire drives through the mist toward the edge of Ashpine. The phone on her passenger seat glows with a single number. Alan Mercer. She hasn't spoken to him in 15 years, not since the conference where he called the Hart case, the one that never let him sleep. She hesitates before pressing call. "Alan, it's Claire Hensley," she begins, her voice steady despite the storm. There's a pause, the static of distance and time, then a gravel rough sigh. "If you're calling about Ashpine, it's already too late." The words echo beneath the rhythm of the rain, and for the first time in years, Claire feels the old pulse of unsolved truth beating again. Morning drapes over Ashpine Lake in a veil of fog as Claire's car rolls into the sleepy town square. Everything feels preserved. Time's reluctance to move forward. She parks across from the old diner, the same one captured in the 1984 case photos. Inside, the hum of a jukebox fills the silence between her and Alan Mercer, who waits in a corner booth. His eyes are older, heavier, but they still carry the same suspicion of men who have seen truth buried alive. "You shouldn't have come back," he mutters, staring at her briefcase. "I didn't have a choice," she replies, sliding the Polaroid across the table. When he sees it, his expression fractures. Grief, guilt, recognition. "That photo was never logged," he whispers. "Someone made sure of it." Alan insists on one stop before reopening any files. Jake Hart's cabin. The gravel road twists around the lake like a scar. When they arrive, Jake stands on his porch, his frame lean, shoulders hunched as though weighed down by years of loss. His voice cracks when Claire mentions his sister's name. "You people called it an accident," he snaps. "Now you want to play detective again?" Claire doesn't answer. She simply hands him the Polaroid. His eyes widen, and for a moment, all the bitterness drains away. "That photo," he murmurs. "Emily took it the morning she died, but she didn't have that film anymore when they found her." The lake behind him glimmers cold and indifferent, as if still hiding its truth. Night returns like a verdict. Inside her rented motel room, Claire spreads the Polaroid beneath a desk lamp, scanning it under magnification. She notices something, reflected faintly in Emily's watch. A car door, the kind used by Ashpine's municipal fleet in the 80s. Her heart stutters. Mercer leans in, his voice hoarse. "That's no fisherman, Claire." "That's an official vehicle." She exhales, realization sinking like a stone. The handwriting on the back wasn't Emily's. It was Mercer's. His note from the night he filed the report. His silence for 40 years suddenly makes sense. "Who made you stop, Alan?" she asks quietly. He doesn't look up. "Someone who still runs this town," he says. The hum of the lake outside answers like a ghost exhaling. The next morning, Claire and Alan return to the Ashpine Police Department. Time hasn't touched the place. Same beige paint, same scent of mildew and stale coffee. The new chief greets them with the cordial chill of bureaucratic resistance. When Claire requests the Hart evidence catalog, the clerk hesitates. "Records from 1984 were purged years ago," he says, tapping the desk nervously. Claire's eyes narrow. Not all of them. Alan stares at the walls lined with commendations, recognizing one. his own, now framed under the name of someone else. The silence thickens until Claire spots a gap in the archives. Box 12B gone. The missing box. Someone made sure this case stayed dead, she whispers. The chief avoids her gaze. Then why does it keep coming back? Hours later, a call breaks the stalemate. The local archivist, Caleb Dorn, claims he's found something buried in the municipal storage tunnels. An unlabeled reel of microfilm. Claire and Alan drive through the rain-slick streets to the old town hall, where Caleb waits, jittery, surrounded by boxes. He threads the reel into a dusty reader, and the image flickers. The original crime scene photos taken from an angle never logged. One frame shows Emily's wristwatch glinting in the sunlight, and the reflection of a man's face. Not Alan, not any officer, someone else. Who developed these? Claire asks. Caleb swallows hard. That's the thing, he says. These were never checked out. Claire and Alan confront Mayor Susan Aldridge at her lakeside office. The once charming deputy mayor from 1984 greets them with a politician's warmth, offering tea. She knows they want drink. When Claire shows her the new evidence, Susan's eyes flicker. Just for a second, before composure returns. You're chasing ghosts, she says. Alan leans forward, voice gravelly. Then why did your signature authorize the purge of the heart files? Silence answers. Outside, rain lashes against the glass like accusation. If you're smart, Susan whispers, standing, you'll leave the dead where they belong. Claire watches her walk away, catching the faint scent of lavender and deceit. That night, driven by instinct, Claire returns alone to the old police storage cellar beneath Town Hall. The power's out, replaced by the hum of her flashlight beam. She moves methodically, knocking along the cement wall, until one section sounds hollow. Her fingers scrape away plaster, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside, the missing box. 12B, files, photos, a reel of tape labeled Heart. Interview 3. Her breath catches. Someone hid this deliberately. A faint creak echoes behind her. Claire spins the flashlight around. Nothing. Only dust. Yet, the air carries a warmth, a presence. She whispers to the dark, I see you, Emily. The light flickers. Somewhere deep below, something drips, slow and deliberate. Alan arrives at the motel as Claire threads the recovered tape into an old player. The reel crackles to life, filling the room with static and then a trembling voice. Emily Hearts. If anything happens to me, tell Jake to look in the archives. Alan's eyes close. He remembers that interview. He'd taken it himself. This was never supposed to exist, he murmurs. The tape clicks, then continues. He said the mayor's campaign couldn't survive another scandal. He said, accidents happen. Claire's blood runs cold. Who said that, Emily? She whispers to the recording. Silence. Then a man's voice, low, familiar. Turn that off. The tape ends. Both detectives stare at each other, their reflections caught in the spinning reel. A gray dawn crawls over Ashpine Lake as a team of divers prepares their gear under Claire's supervision. Alan watches from the shoreline, arms crossed, face drawn tight as the compressor whines to life. The water lies still, deceptively calm. She was found right there, Alan mutters, pointing toward the cove. Claire nods, eyes tracing the mist above the surface. Minutes stretch into hours until a diver surfaces, mask fogged, holding something glinting in the pale light, a rusted camera, wrapped in lakeweed. Could be hers, he says. Claire's chest tightens. Inside that small, drowned machine may lie the truth everyone spent 40 years trying to forget. Hours later in the forensics lab, the recovered film sits beneath a drying lamp, its emulsion crackled and fragile. Claire's breath fogs the glass as she watches the technician coax, An image from decay. Slowly, an outline appears. Emily Hart, standing near her car at the lake, the sun at her back. But there's something else. A second figure stepping into the frame. Male, uniform. Alan leans closer, disbelief breaking through exhaustion. "That's a town vehicle," he whispers. Claire glances at him sharply. "And the man?" Alan's face pales. "Deputy Mayor Aldridge's driver," he says quietly. "At least he was, before he disappeared." When Claire and Alan bring the new print to Jake Hart, the storm that's been hovering for days finally breaks. Rain lashes his cabin windows as he studies the photograph under a bare bulb. "That's him," he says finally, voice cracking. "He came by that morning, said he had a message from the mayor." Claire senses the shift, the first real bridge between 1984 and now. "You never told the police?" she asks. Jake laughs bitterly. "I tried. Mercer here shut the door on me." Alan flinches, guilt written deep in his eyes. "Orders," he admits. Jake turns away. "Orders? Don't bury my sister." The storm outside seems to echo her name in the thunder. Late that night, Claire revisits the docks alone. The lake is a mirror of black glass. Her flashlight sweeps across the planks until it catches the faint glimmer of metal wedged between boards. Kneeling, she pries it loose. A locket. Inside, a photograph of Emily Hart and Mayor Aldridge, smiling arm in arm. The back bears an engraving. "Seek A always." Claire's heart stumbles. A secret relationship, a motive, a cover-up. Behind her, a faint ripple disturbs the water. She spins the light, sees nothing but her own reflection staring back, distorted by the dark waves. Claire and Alan return to the lake at dawn with a dive drone and portable scanner. The machine descends through the foggy water, its light cutting across silt and debris. Then it is a car, half buried in mud, its license plate corroded but still legible. Ash 84, Mooney. Alan's face drains of color. "That's the deputy mayor's vehicle," he whispers. "The one that vanished days after Emily's death." Inside the wreckage, the drone's camera catches a glint. A wedding band still on a skeletal hand. Claire's voice cracks the silence. Looks like the lake kept its own witness. The realization chills them both. The cover-up didn't end. It drowned. By morning, Ashpine hums with curiosity. News has leaked about the lake discovery, and cameras crowd the police station steps. Mayor Susan Aldridge stands before them, voice calm, hands clasped, calling it an unfortunate dredging of tragic history. Claire watches from the crowd, fury simmering under her breath. "She's still covering," she mutters to Alan beside her. "Always was," he replies. When the mayor's gaze drifts over the audience, her expression flickers for a fraction of a second. Recognition, then fear, as she spots Claire. "Detective Hensley," she says smoothly into the microphone. "Perhaps it's time you told the public why this case matters to you." The trap is set. The cameras turn. Claire stands her ground. "Because lies don't sink. They wait." That night, Claire breaks into the mayor's closed office with Alan standing lookout. The room smells of polish and deceit. Roll. Claire moves swiftly, prying open a drawer until she finds a leather-bound binder labeled Campaign Archive 1984. Inside are receipts, memos, letters, all dated the week of Emily's death. One document stops her, a check stub made out to Arlen Lake Services, the same name that appeared on the missing car's registration. The driver, Alan, breathes. He wasn't missing. He was paid off. Claire's hand trembles slightly. "And drowned," she adds. The air thickens with the weight of a revelation 40 years overdue. They retreat to the motel, rain beating against the windows like restless knuckles. Claire pins photos to the wall, forming a timeline of deceit. Alan sits heavily on the bed, head in hands. "There's something you don't know," he begins. His voice trembles, not with fear, but exhaustion. Emily came to me the night before she died. She said she had proof. The mayor's campaign was laundering money through Harlan. Claire freezes. You had her statement. Alan nods slowly. And I destroyed it. Orders from above. The confession lands between them like a gunshot. You didn't just lose the case, Claire says softly. You buried her. Late at night, there's a knock on Claire's motel door. It's Susan Aldridge, rain-soaked, eyes rimmed with fatigue. We both know where this leads, she says, voice trembling but firm. That lake should stayed buried. Claire doesn't move. You were lovers, she states flatly. Susan's eyes fill with tears. Emily was going to expose everything. My affair, the campaign money, the threats. Harlan was supposed to scare her, not... Her voice breaks. Not kill her. Claire's tone sharpens. You covered for him. Susan nods once, a slow confession of ruin. He drowned trying to hide her camera. Silence consumes the room except for the rain, steady, endless, cleansing nothing. At dawn, Claire sits at the diner window with coffee gone cold. Alan joins her quietly. She confessed, Claire says, eyes fixed on the rain-streaked street. To the affair, the cover-up, the lies. Alan nods. And the killing. Claire shakes her head. She swears Harlan acted alone. Alan exhales a bitter laugh. The dead can't defend themselves. Claire sets the Polaroid on the table, the inked message staring back. He was behind her. She whispers, maybe it meant all of them were. Outside, the town awakens under gray skies, unaware that its foundations are cracking. The pact of silence held for 40 years, until now. By midweek, the story breaks wide open. Headlines scream, Mayor linked to 1984, heart case cover-up. Claire watches from her motel TV as news anchors dissect her work like carrion. Her phone buzzes endlessly. Reporters, superiors, threats. Alan bursts in, pale. They're coming after you, he says. Internal Affairs wants to know how you access those files. Claire doesn't flinch. Let them. But the doubt creeps in as she glances at her reflection. Eyes ringed with sleeplessness, voice hollow. The system she trusted has turned its aim inward. Outside, Ashpine's calm streets bristle with the hum of curiosity. Inside, justice starts to sound a lot like vengeance. Claire is summoned to meet her superior, Captain Wade, in the regional office. The room hums with authority and distrust. You've gone off protocol, he says coldly, tapping her report. Breaking and entering unauthorized evidence, seizure, tampering. Claire leans forward, voice like flint. And finding what you missed for 40 years. Wade's jaw tightens. You're suspended, effective immediately. She rises slowly, sliding the Polaroid across the desk toward him. Then, you'll have to silence this too. His expression flickers. He's seen it before. Claire turns to leave, but his voice follows. Be careful, detective. Some truths don't end careers. They end lives. Outside his office, the rain begins again. Back at the motel, Claire tears down the photo board, papers fluttering like dying birds. Alan watches silently from the doorway. It's over, he says, quietly. No, she snaps, it's just beginning. Her hands shake as she stuffs evidence into her case file. They'll bury it again, Alan. Like before, his voice cracks with age and regret. And what will you bury this time? Yourself. She stops. The Polaroid clutched to her chest, rain thundering outside like applause for the damned. She looks at him, eyes hollow yet burning. Then let them come. I'll dig until the whole town drowns. Alan knows the tone. It's the sound of a detective already half gone. The next morning, Alan is gone. On the motel nightstand, Claire finds a folded note written in his familiar scrawl. I'm going to the mayor. This has to end my way. Panic surges. She races through Ashpine's slick streets as sirens wail somewhere distant. When she reaches City Hall, officers are gathered outside. One looks up, pale. There's been a shooting. Claire's breath catches as she forces her way in. In the mayor's office, Susan Aldridge sits trembling, hands covered in blood, not her own. Alan lies on the floor beside the overturned desk, his revolver nearby, his eyes unfocused but peaceful. He wanted forgiveness, Susan whispers. But it was too late. Hours later, Claire sits alone on a bench overlooking the lake. The town behind her hums with scandal, police lights flashing like distant lightning. She holds Alan's badge in one hand, the Polaroid in the other. For the first time, she feels no triumph, only exhaustion. "You were right, Alan," she whispers. The dead never stop talking. The water below mirrors her face, older now, burdened. Somewhere beneath those waves lie Emily, Harlan, and the truth that devoured them all. Claire slips the Polaroid into the wind, watching it drift across the surface until it vanishes. The lake swallows another secret, but this time it's hers. In her motel room, now stripped bare except for a single lamp and the tape recorder, Claire replays the recovered reel once more. Emily's voice trembles through the static. "He said the light would hide us." Claire freezes. She rewinds, listens again. The light. Her eyes dart toward the Polaroid copy pinned above her desk. The reflection in Emily's watch. A light source, wrong for the time of day. "Not the sun," Claire murmurs. A flash. She zooms in on the photo, her pulse quickening. The shadow behind Emily isn't a person. It's the tripod from the mayor's campaign photographer. Someone else took that photo. Someone still alive. Claire races back to the archives, her breath fogging in the damp air of the tunnels. Caleb Dorn looks up from his desk, startled. "You again?" he says. Claire slams the Polaroid onto the table. "Who was the campaign photographer in '84? Caleb frowns. "Harlan's brother, Richard. He left town after the accident." Her pulse hammers. Left or disappeared? Caleb hesitates. "Depends who you ask." Claire demands the old photo registry, flipping through brittle pages until she finds it. A receipt signed by R. Harlan, Jr., dated 2 days after Emily's death. He'd developed film that same week, under a different name. The missing clue wasn't in the photo. It was behind the lens. The address leads Claire to a rotting cottage on the outskirts of town. Inside, the air reeks of mildew and time. Photo negatives hang like wilted skin from the rafters. Her flashlight sweeps across stacks of unprocessed film boxes, all marked Aldridge 84. She opens one and freezes. The images are intact. Emily on the lake, Susan by her side, Harlan loading something into the trunk. Then one final frame. Emily arguing with a man at sunset. His reflection glints in the water. It's not Harlan. It's Susan. Claire exhales sharply, realization hitting like thunder. The mayor didn't just cover it up. She was there when Emily died. Claire returns to the lake at twilight with her camera, retracing Emily's last steps. She aligns herself where Emily stood in the photograph, positioning the setting sun exactly as in the Polaroid. The shadow falls wrong. Longer. Thicker. It wasn't evening when the photo was taken. It was morning. They lied about the time of death. Claire murmurs, breath quickening. She replays Emily's tape again. He said the light would hide us. Not hide, she realizes. Blind. Emily had planned to record the handoff, using sunlight to expose her blackmailers. The photograph wasn't proof of her murder. It was evidence of her courage. Claire gathers the final pieces. The altered timestamp, the duplicate film rolls, the hidden negatives. At the diner, she confronts Susan one last time. "You were there when she died," Claire says. The mayor's mask finally breaks. "She threatened to destroy me," Susan whispers. "I tried to stop her from leaving. She slipped. God, she slipped." Claire's tone is ice. You let them call it an accident. Susan nods, tears tracing lines through her makeup. And you called it justice, Claire adds quietly. The old bell above the diner door rings as Claire steps out, leaving Susan to drown in the truth she built her life upon. The townspeople gather inside Ashpine's community hall as a storm rolls in from the lake. Claire stands at the front beside a projector, Alan's badge pinned to her lapel. Emily Hart recorded everything, she announces. The tape begins to play through the hall's ancient speakers, Emily's trembling voice filling the air. If you're hearing this, something's gone wrong. Don't believe them? Gasps ripple through the crowd. On screen, images flash, photos from the recovered negatives, proof of lies layered over decades. Mayor Susan Aldridge sits rigid, eyes vacant, as her voice from the past filters through the static. No one will ever know. The hall falls silent. Then Claire's voice cuts through like a blade. Now we all do. As thunder cracks, Susan stands abruptly, voice trembling. You don't know what it was like back then. This town, that pressure. Claire doesn't move. And Emily, she asks. What was she like? Susan's composure fractures. Brave, reckless. She loved me enough to ruin me. Her confession ripples through the hall like a gasp of wind. Reporters surge forward, flashbulbs erupting. Susan's voice breaks. I never meant to kill her. She fell. I? Her words dissolve beneath a violent clap of thunder. Claire steps closer, gaze steady. You didn't just let her fall, Susan. You built your life on it. The mayor's shoulders collapse. The storm outside and the one within finally merge. Hours later, police cars swarm the hall. Susan Aldridge is let out in handcuffs, her head bowed beneath the weight of cameras. Claire stands on the steps, rain cascading down her face, indistinguishable from tears. Reporters shout questions, but she hears none. In the chaos, Jake Hart appears at the edge of the crowd, eyes red but clear. She finally said it. He whispers, Claire nods. Your sister's voice did. He looks toward the lake, where the first light of dawn begins to bleed through storm clouds. Do you think she's at peace now? He asks. Claire exhales, the breath trembling. She will be. So will we. That evening, Claire sits alone in her car by the lake, the tape recorder resting on the dashboard. She presses play one last time. Emily's voice fills the quiet. If you ever find this, don't stop, even if they tell you it's over. Claire closes her eyes, tears tracing silent paths. I didn't, she whispers. Outside, the water reflects the fading sun like molten glass. She reaches into her coat pocket, pulling out Alan's badge and placing it gently on the passenger seat beside the Polaroid. We kept our promise, she murmurs. The recorder clicks off. The only sound left is the steady rhythm of the waves against the shore. Days later, Claire walks along the lakeshore at dawn, a single flower in her hand. She kneels by Emily Hart's memorial cross, the inscription worn by weather. Truth never drowns. She places the flower at its base, whispering, You were right, Emily. They did miss it. The breeze stirs the reeds, carrying the faint echo of laughter, the kind that lives between memory and wind. Claire turns toward town as morning light spreads over the water. The camera pans back slowly, revealing the vast calm of Ashpine Lake. Beneath its surface, long-buried secrets rest finally still.